say this. I have a vendetta against the health industry because I'm going to tell you a little story about my fiance's uh, grandmother. So in 2021, I believe, later that, it was a little earlier than that. Maybe, was it 2020? Maybe it was 2020. It might have been 2020. So in 2020, her grandmother was hit by an individual in her car. Um, Come to find out that she had some damage to her lungs. Well, that lung damage was actually from long form exposure to mesothelioma or toward asbestos. And her husband dealt with asbestos working for a particular military base, right? So she ended up having the residuals from the clothes, from the atmosphere, all that good stuff. So she had scarring on her lungs. And of course, this guy hits her. And at the very least, because the guy hit her, she went to the hospital. Come to find out that it had accelerated quite a bit and she was put on oxygen. Well, I think the end of 2020, she ended up having to go in the hospital because it was getting really bad. It was accelerating very, very quickly. She was in there for about a week or two, and then they put her on hospice. During the entire time she was in the hospital, nobody was allowed to see her. Not my fiance, not her mother, not her father, nobody. Nobody was allowed in whatsoever for more than 2 weeks. She was on a hospice for 3 or 4 days. No one was allowed in. No one was allowed in. A day and a half before she passed away, they made an exception for her mother only to go in there in order to fill out her will. That's it. Then she wasn't allowed in for any other reason. Luckily, I believe that night she spoke with my fiance, and that was the last time she ever talked to her because a day later she passed away. After she passed, they made an exception for both of them to go in. And after I got very upset with them, they allowed me to go up with them to see her dead body. And they made a big deal about it. And they made us wear masks. It's a dead body. Unfortunately, for weeks on end, this lovely woman was in the hospital with a bunch of nurses who were busy, short staffed, forced to wear masks. And by the way, as you know, like we did with all the children, it's very difficult to remain emotionally stable when you're looking at people in a mask all day, because a lot of the interaction that we have on a day-to-day basis has to do a lot with the mouth, with the eyes, with the facial movements. It's a big part of communication. Well, unfortunately, she was in there for weeks basically dealing with aliens because you couldn't see their faces. They were just stone-faced all the time. What a miserable, miserable way to go. And we allowed this to happen. Where were the men to stand up against this? There are some out there, don't get me wrong. But why weren't there more of us to say, hey, stop this. This is ridiculous. This isn't the Spanish flu. This isn't the plague. What are we doing?